Should the government stop criticising migrant barge lawyers? 0207 862 2222 is the number that you need to get your calls in now. Lawyers have prevented at least 20 asylum seekers from being moved onto the Bibby Stockholm barge so far, with some claiming that a severe fear of water means that they have refused the accommodation. Now, Home Secretary Suella Braverman has said that the barge is part of the government's plan to reduce the use of expensive hotels. And Conservative MPs have blamed lawyers for adding to the total cost on the taxpayer. Lynn, do they have a point?
No, I think this is complete and utter deflection from the government. They're clutching at straws. A lawyer's job is to defend and to support their client. And if that's what they seem to be doing, the only thing I would agree with is a lot of this is funded by the taxpayer. And that's why I can see their frustration. But then we can say the same argument for those who receive funding for legal aid when it comes to supporting potential criminals. If we're going to have this energy towards these immigration lawyers, we need to have it across the board, because essentially, as strange as this may sound, oftentimes lawyers have to find loopholes and oftentimes do lie in court. Yeah, they can't be seen to be misleading to the judge. However, we have to have consistency. It's only seeming that we are attacking immigration lawyers and no other lawyers in other fields of law.
Jemma, the former Home Secretary, Dame Priti Patel, these campaign groups, she went on to say, and lawyers who are milking the legal aid system show no interest in tackling challenges caused by the number of asylum seekers coming here and the vile activities of the evil criminal gangs who smuggled them into the UK. This idea that by defending asylum seekers or saying, look, my client can't go onto this barge because of the trauma that they've suffered or something else, is milking the system and actually aiding the criminal gangs who are responsible for bringing the asylum seekers here. Do you agree?
No, the rhetoric that we are hearing at the moment from this government is disgusting. There is no coincidence that the National Front is trending on Twitter at the moment. Comments by Robert Jenrick saying that, this kind of ploy to have a massive backlog is deliberate. That is absolutely disgusting. I love the fact they think they know the political persuasion of every lawyer as well. That is completely and utterly ridiculous. And the idea that these individuals who these particular lawyers have stopped getting onto the barges, who have fled torture and persecution. Apparently, some of them have disabilities. These are very, very damaged people and they're extremely frightened. And this barge, what I know the Daily Mail are trying to pretend that it's like a luxury floating hotel. That is misguiding, OK? The barge was designed for 200 people to sleep on overnight.
There are some interior
I don't agree on that point. To be honest with you, the reason why I'm torn with this is because Care for Calais, I actually travelled with Care for Calais to have a look at a lot of the migrants that were trying to come to England. And the way that the people smugglers portray England to be, when they come here, that's what leads to a level of entitlement. So these people smugglers will tell them they are going to expect this, they're going to get that, this is what they should demand for. And I disagree. The barge has a bed, it has bedding, it has food, it has warmth. They are coming, like you said, a lot of them from war-torn countries. And why would they then have an issue with staying on a barge where there's a bed?
So if these people were coming from Ukraine, but they've lost their home.
The majority are not coming from
What
Ukraine.
is the difference if somebody has come from Syria? What is the difference? Why would you not be okay with someone from Ukraine being put on the barge?
No, I've repeatedly said on this show that we should be treating people fleeing from Ukraine, from Syria, from all the same. That I've always said
but we're not.
Okay, but that's not the discussion.
Less than 0.3% of asylum seekers who are currently awaiting claim decisions in this country will be able to go on this.
Okay, what do you say?
This very, very, very costly barge. So this isn't going to make any difference.
Long
to the
term,
backlog.
it will be cheaper.
And by the way, in France, they're taking 5 to 7 months to process asylum claims.
What do you say to taxpayers that have paid 57 million in the prevention of deportation of many people that should have been deported? What do you say to the taxpayer that have paid loads of money towards millions per day in hotels? What do you say to them? What should we do?
I say that this government are reprehensible. The fact that we have a 1 to 3 year backlog
Should we
is the
continue
fault
to
of
pay
the Home
millions
Office.
in hotels?
But this is costing more. A 1.6
Long term
billion
it won't.
contract. No, it's going to be 2.5 billion over 2 years.
The question I have about
it's more expensive.
The question I have about it costing less. I mean, the backlog. You've got about 130,000 people waiting. This barge, even if they manage to fill it, overfill it, it's designed for, I think, 220 people.
Yep.
They want to fit 500 people. That's you're not even scratching the surface. You've got 130,000 people.
Yeah.
Oh, are we suggesting that we're going to hire another 10,000 of these barges?
No, I do think the government have approached this in such a poor manner. They should do more for the people smugglers. But my other point is, okay, putting the money to a side, I don't think it's tasteful and I don't think it's moral to have people put in hotels where there are people with housing issues that have to be decanted to hotels that now can't be. I have to decant people in housing to hotels and there's no room because we are putting immigrants before
you're
citizens.
Right. Well,
Okay,
we've
very
had
briefly,
13
Jemma.
years of no social housing being built. We've got a complete lack of housing.
Yes.
The fact that they're paying that money is because they have a chronic backlog. We have labour shortages, and these human beings should be being processed.
We're not going to let them work, though.
Decide.
We're not going to let them work.
Well, if they are able and fit and able to work, we need people in certain
that's a different
areas.
topic.
France takes 3 times.
Yeah,
as
you're
many.
convoluting
we
loads
covered.
of different people coming in.
But then a lot of people are convoluting the fact that they're saying, look, we need to house these asylum seekers somewhere, and maybe taking up hotel issue. And a lot of people will say, well, look, there are homeless people in the streets. Why aren't we looking after our own? But isn't that again conflating the two issues? That they're kind of actually separate issues. One's got to do with lack of social housing, as you very well know, and the other one's got to do with how we treat people who come and seek our protection.
From what I've seen, I don't see putting people on barges to be mistreating them.
Okay.
At all.
If it's doubly the amount of crowding that it should be, if people are also saying that it's a potential death trap, that is what the Fire Brigade Union have said. And these barges have been, if you look it up, used in other countries. There was one man whose cell wasn't open for 2 hours and he had a heart attack. Like, there's lots of
But then what about all the
issues.
other people that say that they're very happy with it?
All right, let's just pause there and find out what people are saying at home. Elizabeth in Surrey. Elizabeth, good afternoon. What's your view on the language used by government officials, Justice Secretary, Home Secretary, former Home Secretary, saying that you've got these charities and left-wing lawyers that are to blame for people not wishing to go and stay on the barge?
I wouldn't say that they're to blame for them not wanting to go on the barge, but they're actually supporting them, and I think that's wrong. If somebody can pay thousands and thousands of pounds to come here in a rotten old dinghy or whatever, don't tell me that they arrive here with not a penny in their pocket, because that cannot be true. If they want to get a lawyer, they pay for it. Why not? Why should we?
Well, the quite a lot of the lawyers and the help that they get is for free, is charities. And I mean, I wouldn't be able to tell you whether they arrive here with a pocket full of cash or not. My suspicion is that it varies from person to person. But what's the point you're making, though, Elizabeth? Is that they can afford to pay for their own care, their own lodging?
Well, yeah, I would say that some of them cannot pay for their own care or whatever, but I can't believe that none of them can.
Yeah,
and
quite
also,
a few of them, Elizabeth. Quite a few of them, Elizabeth, are staying in places that they're paying for, and also quite a few of them are staying in places where they have, for example, if they have family here, they will be staying there. They're not all in hotels, as sometimes I think we're led to believe. Quite a few of them are in temporary housing that councils have been able to sort out for them. So they're not all in hotels.
No, okay, they're not all in hotels, but an awful number of them are. If they have family here, then all well and good that they can stay with their family. Yeah. But the ones that, in the main, and I would say this is probably the young men who come over here, if they haven't got their family with them, and they were in such a terrible state when they were at home, why have they left their family to be punished instead of them?
Well, what they've done is they've done, I will make
not believe
in that particular incident,
they need help.
And
they certainly shouldn't be asking.
Elizabeth, I think Jemma wants to answer your question.
Lawyers should not be charging in so that they can...
All right, Elizabeth, Gemma wants to answer your question.
I think you're correct, Elizabeth. We need to get into the mindset of why anybody would get into a dinghy which you could potentially drown in, or in the instance of the awful, terrible drowning that happened in Greece, just they lost their lives. So why would they do that? And why would they leave their wife and their children behind? It's because they're going to make the journey and hopefully find sanctuary and bring them over. You don't do that unless you are fleeing something absolutely, utterly horrific. Some do. So do you know what? Let's find out who's who. And for the poor souls that are in category A, they deserve better than waiting 1 to 3 years to find out, because our Home Office is so broken and incompetent, and they're going, look over there, everybody, it's all their fault that your NHS doesn't work, that your roads are rubbish, that you can't get a train. It's just red meat.
I think there's also another thing worth pointing out, something I came across this morning, actually, which I thought, well, this is an interesting, it's not a view, I think this actually happens. I know a lot of criticism, and Elizabeth has pointed to it there. There's a lot of problem of young men coming over. People tend to be a lot more sympathetic with mothers, with children. But young men are looked upon as if they're sort of coming over here they're more economic migrants than fleeing prosecution. And actually what this article was pointing towards is that quite a lot of the time, depending on the countries that these young men are fleeing, they're the more vulnerable because they're at an age where they're recruited to go and fight, for example, to go into the army. If they refuse to do that, then they are persecuted. So there is a reason why a lot of young men are actually encouraged to travel more than, for example, their sisters or their female relatives, because also the journey is considered so dangerous that they are sent ahead, if you like. Again, I'm just saying this is...
But that's like going off of what you said, which I agree with. The massive amount of inconsistencies where we don't take pity on the Ukrainian men that tried to even dress up as women to leave. They were forced to fight. We tell them to stay and fight in Ukraine. So why do we not extend that same level of, OK, why are you fleeing, let's say, the Middle East? Stay there and fight like we encourage Ukrainian men to do. We don't allow Ukrainian men to come here.
I don't think we encourage them.
I don't think I've ever thought that.
But what I'm saying is we don't accept them to come here, do we? Do we accept Ukrainian men to come here?
Well, they can't leave the country because I think they have to stay in
Why don't we have the same
Ukraine.
approach to other men?
Let's find out a little bit more what you're saying at home. Michael in Glamorgan. Michael, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Michael, let me ask you specifically, because I know this is a huge subject. What do you make of government officials blaming lawyers for effectively representing their clients under the law?
Well, yeah, I think that's all they're going to do is encourage these illegal migrants to come to this country in even more numbers, because they know that when they get you, they go illegal. I think there's a difference between migrants where they come through the legal channels and the illegal channels. And I think
there aren't any safe routes.
So, Michael, let's just pause.
There aren't any safe routes.
Well, hang on.
There aren't any safe routes, you're saying, for migrants to come into this country.
Not for these people who are fleeing. Suella Braven has gone on record herself saying that. So there aren't any safe routes for the people that are coming over from these specific countries.
Yeah, but they're coming over illegally, paying their own money on boats to get across here. Yeah, so they treat
under the Refugee Convention, they are not illegal.
Migrants.
They're human
But they
beings.
should be treated differently. I mean, there was a debate earlier on Jeremy Vine's show with Karen Malone was arguing with a gentleman saying that these people aren't being put up in 4-star hotels. Well, they are, because...
Michael, I'm going to challenge you on that, because government ministers have been challenged on that as well, and they have failed to come up with any response. To my knowledge and to everything that I've seen, I have not found an asylum seeker staying in a 4-star hotel and getting what that means, the 4-star treatment. If I stay in a 4-star hotel, I'm going to be staying in a 4-star. Maybe hotels that used to be 4 stars have opened up to house asylum seekers, but they're not getting a 4-star hotel treatment. And I have yet to come across one of them doing that.
Alexis, excuse me, I'll enlighten you on that topic, because not far from where I'm living, in a town called Llanelli, there's a 4-star hotel there at the moment. 200 staff are about to be sacked and lose their jobs because the owners of the hotel have done a deal with the government to let asylum seekers stay in this hotel, and 200 staff are losing their jobs. And people in the locality and up in arms over it.
Okay.
They're camping outside the hotel.
So once the hotel staff have gone, is that going to be a 4-star hotel serviced by staff for asylum seekers to stay in?
Yes, because there's 200 staff are going to lose their jobs.
The 200 staff are going to be gone. But
service
Michael,
won't
thank you
be
for that.
there.
I'm going to look into that. Thank you for letting us know.
can I just...
No, I need to move on
Okay,
because
go on.
I'm really tight for time.